Afternoon, and welcome to United MUFON. July was a fast-paced and hot month this year, but we enjoyed the amazing MUFON Symposium with a grand turnout and a very exciting lineup of speakers. I hope you were able to make it. We enjoyed the beautiful state of Colorado and now have Denver in the rear view mirror. It was a wonderful time of meeting new people and enjoying old friends, as we do every year at the symposium. I hope you can make it to our next spectacular symposium on this side of the country in Cincinnati for 2023. More info to come on that. As you know, we have a different audience every month here at United MUFON, and oftentimes I will go over the same stats and info for those who are joining us literally for the first time. They may not know anything about us. It's important to educate those who are tuning in for the first time to be aware of who we are and what we do here. I try to make this information a bit different each month, but, I do my best. However, I also want to be sure to cover the basis of what we do. I appreciate your patience, those of you who have been here before, since you've been a loyal subscriber to United MUFON Monthly's webcast. We appreciate you and your questions every month. Thank you for your input. I get a lot of emails from a lot of you, and I appreciate them very much. Thank you, and keep them coming. Thank you also just for being here. I know it's a Saturday. You could be out doing whatever, but you're here with us, and we're glad of that. An executive note. Our executive director, Dave McDonald, has been in many recent meetings in Washington and would like to applaud members of the House of Representatives and specifically the House Intelligence, Counterterrorism, Counterintelligence, and Counterproliferation Subcommittee for holding a hearing on unidentified aerial phenomenon that MUFON is a part of. As you know, MUFON is dedicated to the scientific studies of UFOs to benefit humanity, and we're excited that Congress has finally taken this first critical step in disclosing what is known through our knowledge here at MUFON. We know that there are many unanswered questions still. However, MUFON has a 92% rate of being able to explain the sightings that we've got here on file. We are hopeful that Congress and the Department of Defense will continue to be transparent with the American people as MUFON stands ready to assist the government in any capacity. We have a great guest with us here today on United MUFON, and I'm proud to introduce to you a man of many talents, Director of Investigations, Steve Hudgeons. He will be on audio only today, and we have a limited amount of time with him, but I do want you to be able to ask questions. So we'll get to his interview as quickly as we can, and we're so excited to have him here with us today. State Director of Oklahoma, I'm so sorry, Mindy Toutfest and I are getting closer to updating MUFON University, which I discussed here with many of you last month. She will be joining me here at United MUFON next month, along with a special guest speaker, the State Director of Iowa, Greg Anderson. That promises to be very informative, and we will begin to start filming for the MUFON University this month and hope to have many new updates to talk about next month, so stay tuned for that. The updating and streamlining of the CMS we talked about is also in progress, and we're elated about that. It won't be too long now. So much to get excited about here at MUFON. But right now, let's talk about who we are and what we do. So what is MUFON? We are the Mutual UFO Network. And who are we? Well, we're the largest and oldest UFO investigating organization in the world, with a huge member base adding to it daily. We are represented in all 50 states and 40 countries, with thousands of trained volunteer field investigators. We've got over 50 PhD consultants in most disciplines, and MUFON, like I said, conducts scientific investigations of the UFO phenomenon, while others are just UFO reporting agencies. We were established in 1969, and for the past 52 years, MUFON has compiled a database of over 175,000 UFO reports. Our CMS, known to us here in MUFON as the Case Management System, was developed in 2006. As MUFON has evolved, we now monitor abductions as well as entity cases. And so how do we investigate? Because we are certified and trained field investigators here. We use computer science, biology, astronomy, physics, chemistry, geology, engineering, and local stats. That is how we conduct the scientific method. And so also MUFON has a mission statement that we are all very committed to. We investigate UFO sightings and abductions and entity cases. We promote research of UFOs with an eye towards science always. And we educate the public on the UFO phenomenon, which is what we're doing here today. And we've got a board of directors. Our executive director, we're proud to announce, is David McDonald. And also myself, Barbara Schusler-Sobani, Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Rob Swiatek, Richard Beckwith, and Sandy Clevin. So, of all the UFO reports received here at MUFON, approximately 15% of those are real. The others are misidentifications, optical illusions, stars, planets, hoaxes, and hallucinations. But what of those remaining 15%? That's what brought me personally to MUFON, and that's the reason for MUFON's existence. You're not alone if you've had an experience, and we want to hear your story. No experience is too bizarre, and you can trust us to keep it under wraps. Just go to MUFON.com and report your experience. We also have an experiencers resource team known to us here as the ERT, and they're dedicated to helping experiencers of alien contact. Director currently is Dr. George Medich. So if you've had an experience and you'd like to fill out a questionnaire, we keep this completely confidential, and you can speak with someone, and we can send someone from our certified field investigators team to you, and you can be interviewed. So please fill out that questionnaire, and we look forward to hearing from you. So a little bit of MUFON business. We like to do that every month. And we're now on Facebook Live every fourth Saturday of the month, unless I post something because of Christmas or a holiday or something like that. So we'll be United MUFON at MUFONmeetings.com. So please join us every month. And, as I mentioned earlier, 2023 MUFON Symposium will be in the beautiful city of Cincinnati, Ohio. So please save that date, August the 24th through the 27th. And I hope to see you there. So we've also got a MUFON journal call for submissions. So who are we calling? We're calling all certified field investigators, any directors, international directors, or members. And what we're looking for is we would like to welcome article submissions about case investigations, case analyses, international cases, and historical research on sightings or any related phenomenon. So contact the journal editor at MUFON.com, which is Barbara Sobani, and she will take in for consideration anything that you submit to her. So please do that. We're always looking for something new for our journal. And the official MUFON podcast, I'd like to encourage you to listen to Richard Beckwith. He's every other week, and he's got so much to talk about. He's got an updated format and interesting subject matter. He interviews people and has the latest info each month as well, and I hope you'll tune in to him. As MUFON's Director of Membership, I would like to invite you to join MUFON today, if you haven't already. MUFON members will receive either an electronic or hard copy monthly journal, and our journals include articles by leading ufologists, one-on-one interviews, UFO sighting reports, abduction cases, mutilations, crop circles, just to name a few things. And also our symposiums and our speakers are listed there as well. It's only $59.88 for an entire year. And you can upgrade your MUFON membership to include MUFON TV, which is only $119.88 for the entire year, or $9.99 a month. And that you can live stream our MUFON symposiums, which is a huge discount for you without flying or staying in hotels or driving. However you go to the symposiums, you can live stream it. So we would encourage you to do that today. Or if you'd like to become a field investigator with us and join the team, become a MUFON member. Just go to MUFON.com and click join, and then contact your state director. And then sign up for online training or purchase your own FI manual from our website. Take the exam and complete the orientation program online at MUFON University. Members with a licensed and experienced MUFON FI, before attempting an investigation, you will go with others to go out. So don't feel like you'll be on your own or sent out on your own. We train you, and then we have a buddy system where you'll go out with others. So I'd like to encourage you to become a field investigator. If you've ever given it a thought before, now's the time. Just go to MUFON.com. And now available at the MUFON store, we have the I Know t-shirts that I started out way back when. That was in Florida many years ago, but we're happy to have the online store. We have hats, we have go bags, coffee mugs, pens, hats, and portfolios, just to name a few items. And they're all emblazoned with the MUFON logo. So just go to MUFON.com to order. And thanks for your support, as always. Next month, as I was sharing with you earlier, we have with us, August 27th at 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern, Greg Anderson, MUFON Iowa State Director, and he will be sharing so much information with us that I know you're going to want to listen in on and be a part of. And I'm also going to have Mindy Totefest here, and she's Oklahoma State Director, so we'll have a grand time. I certainly hope that you can join us. And now, today's presentation. I'd like to introduce you to Steve Hudgeons, the U.S. Director of Investigations. MUFON Steve Hudgeons is Texas-born in 1950. He is an 8-year U.S. Navy veteran and has spent over 40 years in construction as a commercial glazier with disciplines in installation, fabrication, estimation, selling, and drafting, as well as being an OSHA outreach trainer. During a 30-year membership in MUFON, Steve has been a chief investigator, state section director, an assistant state director, and state director for Texas, as well as previously serving as MUFON's director of investigation. MUFON Director of Investigations International as well, and now again MUFON's Director of International Development. He has investigated and completed over 1,700 MUFON cases. Wow. Past and present volunteer neighborhood projects that he does. For 21 years, he's been a member and captain of the Fort Worth Citizens on Patrol Charlie 14 Beat with the Fort Worth Police Department. He's had 2 years president of the DHL Little League Baseball and 3 years president of the DHJ Neighborhood Advisory Council. He is one busy man. So, as you can see his titles there, Steve Hudgeons, welcome to United MUFON.
Hello, Terry. Thank you for having me.
Yes, this is wonderful. So tell me a little bit more about yourself. Who is Steve Hudgeons, other than what I just read?
I'm really nobody important. I just get out there and do a few things. That's about it. I'm married to the same wife I've had for the last 45 years. I have 2 grown kids and 5 grandkids. And I'm waiting for someday having a great grandkid if they'll ever get on with the program, but you know how that works. But I'm still waking up above the dirt, so we're doing good so far.
Yes, you sure are. So, yes, you are married to a wonderful woman that I met personally a few years back, and I am so glad to know she is always working so hard for MUFON, and just a shout out to Linda. Glad to have you aboard. It's always fun working with her at the symposiums. So
yes, I have fun with her. She's making a cake right now and just sent it over to my son-in-law's mother's birthday party. That's where she's at right now.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Yep, she's always making cakes, and they are absolutely beautiful. I mean, I've seen them on Facebook, and they're so impressive. It's a shame you guys don't live a little closer. I'd be buying them from you all the time. So you were in the military, you mentioned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was in the U.S. Navy. I was a gunner's mate in the Navy on a destroyer.
Oh, how interesting. Let me just ask you, did you ever see anything while you were out there?
Anything meaning?
Anything meeting UFOs?
Well, actually, yes.
Ooh.
There was one incident, and it's not classified or anything, so I can tell you about it. But we were underway. It was early part of my history with the Navy. I would say like 1970, 1971, something like that. We were underway, and we were out in the middle of the ocean. And all of a sudden, you got a little radar blip on the radar. There's a screen up on the bridge, and it was behind the ship, about 100 yards behind the ship. It just all of a sudden there it was, and so they were waiting for the active lookout to make a report, which he never did. So they said, "Does somebody go back there and see if he was awake or asleep?" And so the officer of the deck went back there himself, and they looked back there and there was nothing there. So they called the bridge back again and said, "Yeah, there's something back there, all right. It's still beeping." And so there was nothing there. And it was moonlit night, no clouds. You couldn't hide. It wasn't that dark. And there was nothing there. So the officer of deck went back to the bridge. He sped the ship up about 5 knots. And the blip matched our speed. So we started turning. And everything we did, it did. And so we got back on course and slowed down. Well, it slowed down. It mimicked everything the ship was doing. So we got back on course again at standard speed, and then all of a sudden it just took off to the right, which is the starboard side, and just took off real fast. And don't know what it was. Could never see anything. Just radar pickup. So they blamed it as a radar blip.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Well, that figures.
Yes, that figures.
Well, we get so many of those here, so many things on the CMS that sound the same, We just one at a time, right? So tell me.
That's true.
Yeah. So tell me, what's it like in the day of the DOI?
What's it like?
Yeah, what's it like?
Well, when I first got into this thing back in 2012, I was really excited to do it. I mean, it's a new adventure. I was at the time, I was the state director of Texas. And we had 40 field investigators, and we were keeping pretty busy. And then Dave asked me if I wanted to be the DOI, and I said, yeah, I jumped on that one. Yes, I want that. And it's not the kind of a job that you think it might be. It's more like let's see. Now I've never had to really describe this. Let me think about this for a minute. It's like it's like a principal at a school with a bunch of school teachers that aren't following the rules.
Yeah, I hear you.
And you have to constantly keep everybody in line, and at the same time, you don't want to make everybody mad, because if everybody gets mad, well, nobody's going to do anything you're supposed to do. But anyway, it's not as bad as I'm making it sound. There's, for the most part, everybody follows the state director's handbook like they should. But there are a few cases that we've run into, and I'm sure you know about them, where someone comes up and they don't really like what's going on. And specifically, let's see, when did that happen? It was, I didn't write that date down, but it was about 2016, 17, somewhere along in there, 2017 or 2018, something like that. We had two new people come in, taking over a couple of positions that we really needed, and we still need them today, as a matter of fact. But I'm not going to name the positions or the people. But on our first phone call with their staff meeting, the first thing they made known was that they wanted to bring MUFON into the light, out of the darkness and into the light, and bring them up and get out of the darkness, and they're going to bring paranormal in and combine it with MUFON and UFOs.
Oh boy.
And it got kind of quiet there for about a second, and I said, well, you guys can forget that, because that's not going to happen. Well, the war began. And it took about a year, but those two guys resigned because they weren't getting what they wanted. And that's basically what's resurrecting its head now, years later, that for some reason, people are, not everybody, but a few people are wanting to bring in paranormal into the MUFON, and it's just not going to happen. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen.
It's so interesting because I can't even imagine why anybody would want to change who we are and make us into something that we are not. We've spent all these years since 1969 looking at the UFO, UAP phenomenon and reporting on it. We are the boots on the ground that go out with every report that's valid that we, can go out on. And I just find it mind-boggling that anybody would try to change who we are, and especially because there are so many that spent so many years, so much time, so much of their finances, and they did so much to build up who we are and what we do and how we do it. It really has been just an epic adventure since 1969 here, and continues to be. I know that I joined you back in 2016 and even before that to fight that fight that so many wanted to change who we are, and I'm hoping that they'll just go in their own direction and start their own thing, and if they want to be paranormal, let them be paranormal. There's thousands of those things out there anyway. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And any day on Facebook, there's usually 52 invitations to something paranormal that I get. And nobody does what we do. Nobody has the dedication, has the boots on the ground, has the interest to do it how we do it. And I'm really proud of what we do, and I'm glad you're fighting that fight.
I've been a MUFON now for 31 years or something like that. And I've seen people come and go, and the ones that want to start their own little MUFON organization, well, they never get really off the ground because they just can't hold it in there. I mean, MUFON wasn't created in a day. It took a long time to get it going.
Right.
And now that we're here, everybody wants to be part of it. But the best way to be part of it is to, hey, join, become a member, become a field investigator, and go for it. But don't try to come in and change us. I mean,
right.
But everybody's wanting to bring paranormal in, and I can almost understand why they're doing it. And I have built up my own opinions over why they're doing it. And I'm always asking them questions like, when I had my own radio show, I would do this to everybody, basically. And I would ask them, I said, okay, if paranormal is connected with UFOs, tell me how it's connected. And of course, I could get to hear all kinds of little stories, but most of the answers are, well, a ghost can go through a wall, and so can ET. And so my rebuttal on that is, I say, okay, I see what you're saying is a ghost has the same technology as ET. And then they go, well, no, not really. I said, well, okay, let me ask you this. What is a ghost? I did this at a state director's meeting. I said, what is a ghost? Describe a ghost. And the biggest answer is, well, it's energy of a deceased person. I said, okay, why are they wearing clothes? Because I throw away clothes around here all the time in my house. I don't see them floating around trying to bump me in the head or anything like that. That's why they're wearing clothes. Well, they don't have an answer for that. I said, well, just take, for instance, you have a child in the bedroom, sleep. All of a sudden, the kid wakes up, looks up at the end of the bed. There's a apparition of their dead grandmother. So the kid gets up, scared, runs to mommy and daddy, mommy, daddy. There's granny's in the bedroom in there. And I hear, come on, go to bed. You're just had a bad dream. Come on, go to sleep. So they blow it off. So I run that same thing over to Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. Where is the evidence for Bigfoot? Well, okay, there's footprints. I guess what? I used to make footprints of Bigfoot when I was a teenager out here at the park. We used to do it all the time. That means anybody else can do the same thing. After several hundred years of Bigfoot sightings, we still don't know where they live.
That's true.
What cave are they living in? Where are they? Nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with werewolf. Mm-hmm. The werewolf, same thing. Fairies,
Mothman.
all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have come to my own conclusion that all of these paranormal things that you're looking at and seeing is a mental projection.
Mm-hmm.
And where's the mental projection coming from? Mm-hmm. ET. We all know ET has power over your mind. So you stumble across ET out in the forest out there, well, he's going to project Bigfoot because everybody knows what Bigfoot is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that way they're not seen or damaged or whatever here on the planet of the apes, because we all have guns and stuff. So that's the way I look at it anymore. So if a witness comes forward and says, hey, there's a UFO out here, but there's Bigfoot next to it. Well, okay, you can write that down in your report, but don't put Bigfoot, put entity.
You're right.
There's an entity involved. Same thing in your house. There's an entity involved, not a ghost, because the ghost is just what you think you're seeing. And so if there's a connection, that's the connection I think it is. Yeah,
sure. And we're all entitled to our opinions on what it is. And I respect that, I might not look at it exactly the same, but I get what you're saying and where you're coming from for sure. And we don't know a lot about all the specifics behind all these things. So it is interesting. And I'm certainly not here to say I have all the answers, because it is true. The extraterrestrials definitely can cause you to see, feel, experience different things, and take you. Actually, it's they're very interesting. Different species, I suppose, have different talents and gifts and things that they present, if you want to call them that. So there's so many possibilities with what they can do and project. I'm well aware from my own experiences that they can do that, and I've never really understood why it all happens, but it definitely does, and it leaves you in quite the conundrum after having a experience with them, because you really don't know what happened and why did that happen, which is, that just puts you in such a strange place. And people who tell me, oh, they have it all figured out, or, this is what it is and that's what it is, I step back and go, no, I don't think anybody has the full picture. I think we all have little pieces of information, and all of our experiences are all very different. We have all these cases that are reported to us month after month, year after year, for 52 years. And none of them are identical, not even one. They're similar, but they're not identical. And so this shows me that each personality receives their information very differently. And that's why they call it a personal experience, So, are you currently teaching any of the new certified field investigators that come into MUFON? That was a question that somebody had asked me the other day, and I said, well, I'll ask him.
No, I'm not, because the state directors themselves are the ones that are supposed to do the teaching.
And then I know that you had referred me in the handbook, which I have here, that you supplied me with, which I'm very grateful for, and I think everybody has one of these now. If you don't, please contact Steve and he can get one to you. I know that if somebody comes in brand new and they are in a state that doesn't have a state director, can you explain to us then what that person does or where that person goes to find help and training?
There's a CAG state director in every place. There's not a physical state director, and they can use him just like he's a state director, because basically he is. He's the state director of that state. And if they have trouble, anybody has trouble finding who they're looking for, they can send me an email, doi@mufon.com, and I'll help them out with that.
Oh, very good. Yeah. And that would be expected. And you're saying CAG, C-A-G. And what does CAG stand for? Case
Assistance Group.
Okay, Case Assistance Group. Good. I know a lot of people joining us for the first time, or somebody coming in for the first time, wouldn't necessarily know what that means. And thank you. So tell me, what actually brought you, Steve, to MUFON? How did you get involved with MUFON the first time?
Well, unfortunately, as a kid, I found this magazine that my grandmother always had. It's called the National Enquirer. And it had anything and everything about ghosts, goblins, werewolf, and just UFOs, and I was just fascinated with all of it. Mm-hmm. And I was always wondering, even to this day, and I mean, this was back in the 60s when I was reading this thing. The question I still have today is why was Bigfoot running into all these Indian reservations and the teepees and taking off with the women? I never could figure out why they were doing that. And I still today don't know why they did it, but just that sort of thing just kind of got me fascinated with it, and it stuck with me forever. And after I got out of the Navy, when I went into construction, man, we were working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week forever.
And what year was that?
Oh, it started 2 days after I got out of the Navy, and that's in 1973. And I kept in that till I was 63 years old, and I retired out of it. Mm-hmm. But I was talking to my sister. She was visiting, and I was talking to her, and I said, "Hey, did you see this UFO thing? It was in the newspaper." She says, "Oh, you're interested in UFOs?" I said, "Well, yeah." She said, "We need to join MUFON." I looked at her kind of funny. I said, "What's MUFON? What's that?" And she started telling me about it. And I said, "Well, how do you get in?" She says, "Well, you have to be recommended." And I said, "Well, how can I be recommended if I don't know anybody in MUFON?" And she says, "Well, I do." She got kind of irritated. And it was at the time, it was the state director of Oklahoma, and I forget what his name is, but I got an application from him. And I think at the time it was $25 to join or something of that nature. And so I joined MUFON, and I said, "All right, I'm gonna get to go to meetings and all this kind of thing." And this was in 1991, I believe it was, or 1990, something like that. And time went on. Never got a meeting, never got a phone call, never got anything. But I got the journal every month, so I was reading that. I was about to get tired of MUFON because nothing was going on. So when it came time to re-up my membership, I put on there I wanted to be a field investigator. And I got an email back, said, "Oh, well, you got to buy the field investigator's manual and take the test." I said, "Okay." So I forget how much that was then. It wasn't that much, but I bought it and I took the test and I passed. Mm-hmm. I said, "All right, I'm a field investigator now. Now I'll get some phone calls." Well, time went on, nothing. I said, "Oh man, what is MUFON all about, really?" and finally, I got I got a letter, and MUFON is going to have a meeting over here in Dallas, and so and so date, so and so time. And I said, "All right, finally." So when the time came, I went running over there, and all 5 of us showed up. And I was the only field investigator. Uh-huh. And what had happened was, about the time I signed up and joined is when the big MUFON chapter in Dallas and Fort Worth got a big argument and split up and just disbanded and went in all directions. And you'll never guess what the disappointment was, what the problem was about. You'll never guess.
Let me guess. Go ahead and tell me.
Half of them wanted paranormal to come in, and the other half did not. So the paranormal group took off, and the other group just scattered everywhere. And it didn't take but about a year for the paranormal group to just scatter and go everywhere because they're not going to do anything anyway. So the new state director came in, and since I was the only field investigator, that made me the chief investigator right off the bat. So it took probably 3 years to build the DFW group back up to where it was a large level again, and it just went from there. But that's what got me into MUFON.
Yeah, that is an interesting story, and one that I've actually heard quite a bit.
Yes.
Back in the 70s, well, in the 50s and 60s, anything that it was ever done with ufology was done on paper, literally pen and paper.
Yes.
Everything had to be written out. It was a very long, elongated process. And it was very thorough, however, I must say, because I've read many of those case files from back in the day. It was incredibly excellently done. And every state director or every field investigator had to do that because until 2006, we didn't have the CMS, so it wasn't, on the net. So until then, it was really very difficult. And because we didn't have the internet like we have, there wasn't a lot of meetings that were being held, and people didn't have a way of getting information out as much back in that day to let people know that there was a meeting. So many of them were held in libraries and places like that where you could maybe put a sign up or something. But you're right, a lot of people were not connected to each other, and there wasn't a lot of interaction with one state or another. People weren't really sure who was who. When I came into MUFON in 2010, I saw the need for, even though now we were on the net and there was so much going on worldwide on the worldwide net, I still saw that we needed to have a way to bring things together and be more cohesive and connected to one another. And I've been working on that, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing with Mindy Totfest, the Oklahoma State Director. We're both working feverishly, actually, to update, train, and get things situated so that each and every person that comes into MUFON will now have a training program that they can go through that is visual, as well as what has been set up in the past. We had found a lot of people weren't actually reading their manuals, and so there were a lot of questions, and this is why people didn't know exactly what to do. So we see doing these videos to upload to the MUFON University as a real benefit to new field investigators, because we want them to know how excited we are to have them a part of our team. And specifically, like you said, the ufology team, and keep it that way. And we're not looking to change who we are or change our direction. We're looking to continue and to streamline and update information. And I believe we're doing a great job at that, because you've been helping with that as well. I wanted to ask, do you currently hold any meetings in Texas?
We have over in Grapevine, but since COVID came in, it kind of put a stop to all of that, and I'm sure they're trying to get it back again. But it's the same thing. All the other, like San Antonio and Austin and the other Houston, they generally have meetings, but this COVID has shut everything down, and they're trying to get it back going again. But it's a slow process once something stops for a long time.
I had two people connect with me last night at United MUFON and ask where the different meetings were being held, or if they were being held online in Texas. And I always refer everybody to MUFON.com, and they can go onto the area where it says find a chapter, click on that, and then you can find who's holding meetings in the area. Are there any, you're in close to Grapevine, is that what I heard you say?
Yes, it's the northern area of central DFW. It's like north of DFW Airport.
Okay. And I'm not real familiar with Texas. I know where a few places are, Dallas, Plano, and things like that. I've been there a few times. It's a massive state, so I don't know. This person was from Houston, so I'm sure they're not close to you. Are there any?
No, they're 4 hours away.
Oh wow, yeah, not even close. Are there any online in Texas just for the Texans? Which is why I do United MUFON. So if somebody doesn't really have a state director, or they're not going to local meetings, because COVID has been a real issue for all of us. All the state directors have gone through exactly what you've gone through. They were holding their meetings. And a lot of them even in restaurants and things like that, and then it all just got shut down. So it's kind of coming back, but not as quickly as I would have hoped that it would. People are very comfortable now with the online meetings, but not everybody has the ability to join online like that. So that meeting in the restaurant or in the library is really so nice, and it always created such a family atmosphere that I would hold throughout the state of Florida when I was the state director there, and traveled the ASD and state section director in Florida. I would travel the whole state and start meetings, and then try to go back every so many months, 3 months, 6 months or something, and at least hold one meeting for people. And they were always packed meetings, because everybody really is interested in what's going on in ufology, and they want to hear what are the latest cases and things like that. But if you don't have anything where you are local, then will you continue to do online meetings, or is there somebody there in that area that's a state director that will hold the meetings online that you could tell our listeners about?
The only meeting I'm aware of right now is a meeting that the state directors have been having like once a month. And that's something that Doug started. And I think there's going to be another one here. I think maybe tomorrow or the next day. I'm going to have to look at my notes. And but I'm going to attend that. That's online. And as far as any other ones that in the state of Texas that are like online meetings, I'm not aware of any of them.
Now, if our listeners wanted to go to one of those meetings, and like my friend from Houston who contacted me, how would they find out about where that meeting is and how to join it? Is it just Facebook page, Texas Facebook?
The one I'm talking about is called a state directors meeting, and I noticed in the people that are attending, there's actually like, I don't know, it seemed like it was 74 people that are showing up to the meeting. Mm-hmm. But I'm not conducting it. I was just invited to go to it, so that I would not feel comfortable giving that link out, if you know what I mean.
Oh, if it's just for state directors, you mean?
That's my impression,
okay.
But like I said, there was extra people showing up, and I'm not sure what that's about.
Does Texas have a Texas MUFON Facebook page?
If they do, I'm not aware of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's something.
For some reason, people don't like to keep me informed. And that's the first people I go look at.
Well, I'll find out and I'll keep you informed. I don't mind doing that at all. So you're in Grapevine, and I don't know who is the state director there in Texas.
It's Ken Jordan.
Ken Jordan, okay. And so if he has a Facebook page, then those who have contacted me on United MUFON to find out about where those are, I would still suggest to go to MUFON.com and hit find a chapter, click on that, and then see where the Texas chapter is and contact either that ASD or SSD or SD that is holding those meetings online and find out if there is something. I think that kind of is the way of the future right now, while we're still in the middle of all this nonsense with COVID and the fear of monkeypox and every other thing out there. You know, people are kind of staying restricted somewhat still, but I guess that's just how it is. So let me ask you this. A couple of folks had asked me, have you ever had any personal experiences outside of the one that you mentioned in the Navy?
The only experiences I have had myself have all been paranormal.
Okay, not.
I have never seen anything out in the sky that I couldn't identify.
Okay, yeah. And you've been with MUFON for a long, long time. Are there any cases that you find that you were really impressed by or just really changed your mind about things?
Well, my mind never was really changed, but the most exceptional case was the Stephenville case.
Oh, I knew you were going to bring that one up. You want to share a little bit about that with our listeners?
Well, this is back in 2008, and the end of 2008 and the beginning of 2009. They started getting some reports down in the Stephenville area, and the constable down there had a sighting with them, and that's what really kick-started the whole thing. And it went to the newspapers, and then it went to the newspapers around the world. And the next thing I know, they're calling MUFON, wanting MUFON to get involved with it. And to this very day, I don't know if anybody sent a report in or not, to tell you the truth. But after we got started with it, we started getting a lot of reports. But we decided that we needed to, let's just have a meeting down there in Dublin. So we got with the newspaper lady that was there. I'm not going to mention her name. She's no longer with us anymore.
Oh, okay.
She died of COVID.
Oh, no. Dear Lord.
And her husband the same week. But anyway, she got a hold of us, and she wanted to have a meeting and set it up. And I said, well, let's have it at a school. And she said, okay, let me check on that. Well, the school wanted a $150 deposit to clean up the trash after everybody got out of there, which I can understand that. So we didn't want to do that. Didn't have the money for that. So she says, "Well, okay, there's an auction barn down here we can use." And so that's what we were going to go do. And then before we really got down and started doing it, the Rotary Club there in Dublin said that we could use their Rotary Club building. So okay, so that was acceptable to all of us. So they posted that up in the neighborhood newspaper down there. So we went down there. I forget I think it was a Saturday, and we went in the building, and I think the building was you can only have like 500 people in there. It's a pretty good sized building, and well, we were in there talking. People were filing in constantly, and finally they tapped me on the shoulder and they said, "Hey, it's time to start." I said, "Okay." So I went running over there, and we had a standing rule. That's kind of funny. We had a standing rule that nobody could film what we were doing, because people go out there and they get on Facebook and internet and start selling DVDs and things like that.
Geez, yeah.
So, yeah, we've been there, done that. We've got a T-shirt that said that. But anyway, the first thing I did when I walked up to the podium there, I noticed there was like 6 or 7 big microphones attached to that podium. And I said, wait, I'm telling to myself, I said, wait a minute, they're not supposed to even be recording this. I looked up, and there they were from left to right. ABC, NBC, CBS, wow. Every one of them were out there. Holy mackerel.
Big doings.
Talk about my hair getting gray. Holy man. So that's what kick-started it. It started off right there. Oh, man. And I think we had the time is all over with a couple of days there. We had about 500 reports from day one to the history of this area. Mm-hmm. And during our investigations, we found out that all east, south, and west of Dublin was a military flying zone where everybody goes and practices their Top Gun maneuvers, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
And we also found out that they had, the Air Force had 9,000 different types of flares that they could drop. So, in my view, that's what everybody was seeing. Airplane maneuvers and flares, because we got a lot of orb stuff, and just on and on and on. And there was one report that somebody had that I had a question mark on, and he said, yeah, this was just like 5 white lights basically stacked on top of each other, and they weren't moving. And I thought about that because I never had heard that before. Mm-hmm. And another one was what I call the flying Walmart. It was it was an object that was half a mile by 1 mile, and flying slow. It flew over an area there where 4 or 5 people were out talking in their yard. I'm not going to name them either, but it flew over them, not very fast, but one of them was a pilot, so he knew what he was looking at. And then shortly thereafter, it came back and some jets were chasing it. So I call that the flying Walmart. And what makes that one interesting is that later on, 4 or 5 different police officers in Stephenville were on patrol one night, and they weren't together. They were separated around town. And they saw this flying Walmart go slowly over downtown Stephenville. And I thought that was kind of strange. And it took them a long time to come out and say anything about it because they didn't want to get fired. That's kind of funny. But later on, I went to a meeting with the UFO hunters when they did a little thing on it. And when I was coming back from that, it was at night. And I drove by the Air Force base over here that's not too far from me. And I noticed up in the northern sky, there it was. 4 white lights stacked on top of each other. Mm-hmm. And what that was is it was 4 airplanes coming in for a landing, and they had their running lights on. And when they're coming straight at you, they look like they're not moving.
I know. Yes, I've seen that.
So that's what this guy was looking at, is the 4 or 5 planes were zoomed in on one spot and practiced their landing exercises, or maybe even a bombing exercise and they had their running lights on. So that kind of blew me out of the water on that one. I said, oh well. But anyway, there are some things that are going on that I think that like this flying Walmart, you have to consider. Here you are, an alien with a ship the size of a flying Walmart, and it may be the only way you have to get back to your planet, right?
Yeah.
So why would you fly it really slow in an area that the Planet of the Apes are flying their jets around, practicing bombing runs or machine guns or missiles? Why would you do that? So I think it's our own equipment.
Yeah, it certainly could have been.
I believe that any alien that's smart enough to come around us is going to be invisible when they're in the air. That's just the way I look at it. I mean, that's my logic. I'm sorry. I think the stuff they're showing is our stuff because we're still $30 trillion in debt. And, there's something else I talk about. Is how long was man in an animal-drawn vehicle? What do you think?
A couple hundred years, yeah.
2,500 years estimated.
Yeah.
Okay, from the time that man stepped off of the animal-drawn vehicle and stepped onto the moon. About 65 years. Now, from the time he stepped off of that animal-drawn vehicle until today, 120 years, good 120 years, why are we still getting 21 miles to a gallon in those cars?
Someone doesn't like us, or they're taking advantage of us.
The technology and the money is going somewhere.
It sure is.
Secret space program. Hello, Walmart. That's our stuff flying around out there.
Well, there is only one thing, Steve, that really blew me away when I was in Florida. I was the state director there, and I had a certified field investigator that worked with me at the time. He was going to Embry-Riddle, and his name is David Toon, and he was doing a thesis. Well, he was doing paper for Embry-Riddle, and he called it the NASA technosignatures. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen those, but he kept taking these frames that NASA was getting of the sky and of the cosmos and around the moon and things like this and around the sun, and he would discover these massive circular and oblong, it appeared to be crafts, but I don't know what else to call them, but they were massive in size, like the whole state of Texas, one of them would be, or the whole state of California, one would be. They were that big, and these weren't motherships. These were like granddaddy ships of granddaddies, and when he would take them to his professors and show him what he had, they were shocked. And all of this eventually was taken down, of course, and not available any longer. However, he had done so many different videos of these that he was going around and showing them. And I was really impressed with one that was so big, it would have been the size of our entire planet. And I thought, okay, this is odd. And the reason I say the size of our planet is because we're actually very small in the universe. And if you compare us to the sun, these were actually bigger than what our Earth looked like, and they were so amazing. Now, I'm going to be contacting him to have him on United MUFON here, and I'm hoping that he'll be able to share his NASA technosignatures with us. He did come to one of the symposiums and share a lot of information, and it's befuddling how big and how strange these crafts move. They will hover completely still and then shoot off so fast, but they're so far away that what looks fast to us must be amazingly fast, in in real life, it must just be amazingly fast for what we're seeing it from so far away. And these were all picked up by the NASA, almost like the Hubble, something as big as the Hubble looking at it. So it is interesting. I don't know what's out there, but when you said flying Walmart, it made me think about what David does, and he is now in Florida. He's the CI there, chief investigator, and I'm really excited about getting him back on and looking at that. I'd love for you to join that webcast when I get him on, because I'd love to hear what you have to say about it all. We think so much alike, you and I, actually. But it's 3:00 here, but I wanted to mention that my very first interview ever, when I came to MUFON in 2010, was with you. You were on doing a podcast. I don't remember the name of it. Are you still doing that podcast, or do you do that from time to time still?
No, I did that for 6 years and I got tired of doing it. It was the Texas UFO radio show.
Texas UFO radio show. I remember it.
Yep.
And it was so exciting to me. That was the first time I had ever met you or talked to you. And, that was a long time ago. It seems like we've been around the block a time or two since then.
That's the truth. I tried to one day try to figure out if there was a pattern to all these UFO sightings.
Uh-huh.
And since I had access to the CMS, I did a little scouring.
Uh-huh.
And I tried to pinpoint down which hour of the day are most sightings.
Oh.
And it turns out that most sightings are at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night.
At night.
Yes.
Oh.
I ruled out midnight, because when you don't put a time down, it goes to midnight.
Right.
The CMS automatically does. So I ruled that out. But it's 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock are the most sightings.
Oh, that's incredible.
I went further, like the day of the month.
Mm-hmm.
Which day of the month is the most sightings? And it's the 15th.
Really? That's
yes,
interesting.
The 15th. Next is the 1st, the 4th, the 23rd, and the 25th, followed by the 28th. But most sightings are on the 15th day of the month. And my wife says, well, that's when most people get paid. And I got thinking about that. What's that got to do with it? Well, they're out spending their money. That's okay. And I went to which month of the year has the most sightings? And it's October. October.
Really?
Followed by July. Figure that one out. Then I went, which year had the most sightings? And it's 2012 has had the most sightings.
That is interesting. I had 2 major sightings in 2012. Major. Changed my life major. That's
and
interesting.
I've always done let's see, how can I call this? An observation.
Uh-huh.
I do an observation on the percentages of the dispositions that are always used on their cases.
Uh-huh.
And if you take all of the cases in the entire CMS, the percentages are, of course, unknowns are combined because there's 2 different. But anyway, it's 32% are unknown, and
right.
34% are known, and 6% are hoaxes, 14% are data only, and 10% are information only. It works. They change somewhat, but they don't change that much until, where'd it go? Here it is. Until 2014.
Uh-huh.
The information, the UFO, unknowns and IFOs became equal.
Oh my goodness.
In 2014.
That's
and
interesting.
when that happened, the IFOs immediately took off, and the unknowns slowed down. And it's been like that for the last 5 or 6 years. And what I relate that to is along about 2014, 2013, and 14, we started getting hard and on getting your dispositions correctly. because a lot of people were going, well, information only, or oh, it's just data,
Mm-hmm.
and just closing the case out.
Mm-hmm.
But when one started getting hard on that, now more and more and more are being identified,
Mm-hmm.
and so identification is going up. Unknowns are going down, as well as the hoaxes are about the same. They don't change much, and the data and the only they're going down also. So we're starting to identify more and more of these things that are going on. And
That's awesome. Gosh,
yeah,
that's worthy of the journal. All that you just said. You should submit that.
oh yeah, I guess so. But I could probably tell Bob about it. You put it in there. Bob's pretty good about that.
Yeah, that would be
But
wonderful. I love that. Thank you for sharing those stats. That's wonderful.
I've never told anybody that. You're the first.
Oh boy, I'm the first. There you go. You heard it first here at United MUFON. Well, thank you. I feel privileged. Well, I don't know if we have any people that are needing to ask questions.
If anybody has a question, they can always just email me at doi@mufon.com. I'll answer any question you stick at me. Oh,
Okay.
that reminds me. I still got a few minutes.
Yes.
Okay, that reminds me. Just yesterday,
Uh-huh.
I got an email.
Uh-huh.
It was from an ex state director in another state.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to name the state or the person, but they were informing me that there was a cattle mutilation
Ooh.
in their state,
Ooh.
and they wanted me to tell them where they could send their specimens to the lab.
Okay.
And I said, well, before I give you any kind of lab information, I want you to enter a report.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I don't want to enter a report because I want to go interview the witness and see what the scene looks like and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, before you do that, I want you to enter a report, and I want a certified MUFON field investigator, since you're not, to go with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't heard from him since.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's something we stopped a long time ago was people sending things to the lab without permission.
Right.
I mean, this stuff costs money,
Yes, it does.
and
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that were sent to the lab really didn't need to be sent to the lab. If you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the lab is a big top secret thing right now, and people are saying, well, we're going to send this, we're going to send that. So, well, what do you got? And then they show me what it is, and no, it's not going to the lab. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, that's about it. That should cover it.
Well, there was a question. I wasn't able to hear what it was. If I could get the producer to maybe give me that information again, there was somebody that had written it in, and so
Okay.
I'll have to have him kind of speak it to me in my ear because
That's fine.
what's MUFON's opinion or view on Skinwalker Ranch? Do you have any idea? Have you heard anything about that, Steve?
As far as MUFON's opinion, I don't speak for MUFON. I speak for me.
Yeah.
And there's so many TV shows about Skinwalker Ranch that I put it on the same category as that same show that they're digging in a hole looking for some buried treasure over there somewhere. I forget now where that's at.
Yeah, I do.
If there was something going on at Skinwalker Ranch that was what I consider as real, we would know about it by now.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And the best way to keep a secret is don't let anybody out there to look at it. And that's the way it is out there. You don't get to go look, and that
Yeah.
doesn't mean there's something there. That just means somebody doesn't want you on the property.
Right.
So,
right.
my opinion on Skinwalker Ranch is I don't have any experience with it,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't see any evidence to make me want to run out there.
Yeah.
Now there is a person that I know of that knows quite a bit about it, but I'm not going to mention her name either because
Yeah.
I just don't give names out. But
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything otherwise the way I think
Mm-hmm.
from anybody, so
Mhm.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Is there anything going on in North Alabama? That was a question from a viewer.
In North Alabama.
In North
We'd
Alabama.
have, that the best to get a hold of the state director for Alabama. You can go to MUFON.com, and there's a spot there that identifies all the state directors, and it gives out their emails and all of that thing. And if you have a question about a state, go to there, get the information from the CMS. Well, you won't get to the CMS, but get a hold of that state director, and they can answer any question you have.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just MUFON.com, and click on the state and find a chapter, and then find who your state director for that state is and contact them.
Yes.
Where can people find out more about the congressional? I would suggest that they go to MUFON.com, join MUFON, get our journal. Our executive director, David McDonald, always posts information that he gets because he is in meetings with different Congress people, and he does post updates. And I believe they're listed under just executive director notes, and he'll share information that he can share. And we all look forward to hearing that because it's always so interesting. And I know that he has recently been back to Washington, which he shared at the symposium. And we're looking forward to hearing more about that. So that will all be posted in our journal, the MUFON Journal. So I would say to stay informed about all that, get the journal. Join MUFON.
Very true.
Amen. Is there any other messages or notes or questions? Okay, well, I know that you were on a limited time frame because you have a lot going on in the family today, Steve, but I'm so grateful that you came on the show and that you shared, especially all the first time stuff that you shared with me, and I hope that does make it to the journal because I would like everybody to know those stats. But I appreciate you so much and all that you do, and I know that it isn't easy, and yet you fight that good fight every day for us. And thank you.
Well, thank you for having me and putting up with me sometimes. But anyway, I'm just kidding. Thank you very much.
I enjoy you. Everybody that gets to know you does. To know you is to love you. So they just got to get to know you. That's all, and that's what I tell everybody. So thanks for being here, everybody. Too. Thank you for coming on your Saturday. I hope you have enjoyed the time with us today. And next month we'll be talking to Greg Anderson, the Iowa State Director. Just wanted to make mention of that again. I hope that you'll join us. It's 2 p.m. I believe it was on I want to say was it the 27th? Yeah, August 27th at 2 p.m. Central Time. And he'll be talking about a lot of things that we do as certified field investigators with boots on the ground out there. He'll be talking about some of the different things that we utilize to do our scientific evaluations of the cases that we are working on. So please tune in next time for United MUFON, Greg Anderson, MUFON Iowa State Director. And we look forward to seeing you then. And also please visit us at terryling.com. That is a personal experience that I had in 2012, and like Steve said, 2012 was a really powerful year. It sure was, because I had another experience that year that was life-changing, absolutely life-changing, and so was this. The book that I wrote about an alien healing, the true story of a benevolent extraterrestrial, is on Amazon. Very inexpensive. I kept it as cheap as I could so people could just, read it. I know I need to redo it. People have said, oh, I had some typos in there. I am so sorry. Still not perfect after all these years. So thank you again for coming, and have a great evening. Keep looking up.